Hi, Solar. It's very stressful being a new dad. It is. I understand what my friends deal with now that have children. Now that I'm a dad, it's really stressful. The first 24 hours I was a mess. The second day I had to, that's Remy, that's my baby's mama. The second day I had to drive and pick up a dog, so I was worried the whole time. So I started noticing something about Solar, that Solar's legs were kind of going out. And that is a common thing with baby birds, and it can be corrected, but you have to get on it real early. Now, at a certain point, if it keeps going on, you can tape the legs into position so they don't go out, okay? This is a real thing. So you kind of tape them so that they're underneath the bird, and they were not underneath Solar. Solar was trying to lift up and not getting traction. So we were having a problem. So yesterday I was sort of flipping out. But I rectified the problem, and I don't think that we're going to have to tape the legs. But I would do whatever my baby needs. I would take my baby pigeon, to a bird specialist if I had to. It's honest God truth. I would spare no cost, There's no way. So what we did to rectify the situation is that one of the main causes of this is something I've known about for years, and that's that humans, when you make a nest, it might not be the right nesting material, all right? And when I work with birds, I've been working with pigeons for years, usually I use, like on a young pigeon, I'll use wool or I'll use terry cloth because they can sort of grab on. Now, I was using t-shirt material, and it was sort of making the pigeon slide. But I'm used to working with birds that are 2 weeks and above, not a day old, 2 days old. So, I'm like, what the fuck? So on the fourth day, I was like, well, that was yesterday. I'm like, we're going to have to do something. We got to change and go into a traditional nest. And I know what pigeons use for a nest because I have pigeons that live in my barn. And I know the materials that they use, and I've seen the nest. So it's not an issue. Right when I start making the nest, I also noticed somebody online underneath my video had said, like, look at, your video at 1 minute, 20 seconds. I'm afraid your bird has, it's this problem. And I'd already thought about it. I was already right on it, changing the nest. And that's the first thing that you want to do. If you can avoid taping the legs up, there's many different ways to do it. You can cut a sponge, like a makeup sponge, put little holes in the sponge, put the feet through it so that the feet are underneath the bird. If you can avoid doing that, great. But the first thing that you should do is what I did, which is change the nesting material, and it looks like it's worked. I've actually seen Solar standing up, which Solar was not standing up. It was a problem because every time Solar tried to stand up, they lose traction and their legs start sliding out. And as the bird gets older, it gets heavier. The legs become more and more useless. Do you understand? You end up with crippled birds. This is common. This is not an uncommon problem. And so I'm flipping out. I'm like, well, let's change the nesting material. And that's what I did. And I'll show you. Solar's doing great. I actually saw Solar stand up and walk backwards to go to the bathroom. That's what a bird will do, is they'll walk, even a young bird will walk backwards and poop off the nest. So I saw Solar doing that. I've seen Solar lifting up because Solar has traction now. In other words, there's sticks and stuff in there that when Solar's leg pushes against it, Solar's leg stops sliding and Solar can gain muscle. Do you understand? So if you have a young bird like this, know this. The first time that I saw this happen, I was working at a animal shelter in Brooklyn, and some pigeons came in, and what we were using was newspaper, and the newspaper's way too slick. So both pigeons, young pigeons, they were probably a month old. We went in there like one day, and all of a sudden, like, the legs are out, and they wouldn't work. And the vet there, she's not an avian vet. She's like, I don't know. So somebody started doing research. Maybe it was me. I can't remember. Somebody started calling around, and that's what we came to the conclusion was that the bedding material that we were using for the pigeons was causing this. So you have to take that into consideration. Now, the nest that we're using, I'm not going to touch it. Since it was looking like he was having a problem or she was having a problem, I might add to it. I might add, and I've added some sticks and stuff. I'm good at making a nest. I've always been good at making a nest, and you'll see that that's what the pigeon's like. Like Remy, when she's going to lay an egg, she'll look for stuff in the house like cable ties. Like, you know, those real thin cable ties, like you cut them and then there's like a little piece of plastic. She'd find that. It's like a little stick, and she's going to bring that over. So let me show you. Solar's doing great. Solar's standing up. I couldn't be happier. I was flipping out yesterday. I'm like, fuck, man, I'm going to have to tape Solar's legs up and shit. And then there's the issue of Remy. Is Remy going to, you know, try and take the tape off? Is it going to freak Remy out? Remy's doing great with the bird. Remy, by the way, when I put the materials in there, Remy just started building the nest right away. Now, I help her. She'll let me help. She sees me as a mate. That's my baby's mama. It is. Let me show you Solar. Solar's doing awesome. Solar is sleeping right now. And if you see that Solar's legs are underneath Solar, that's how they're supposed to be. But when Solar was on top of the t-shirt material, they would be out to the side, and Solar couldn't stand up. But now they're in the proper position. So Solar moves, and when Solar moves, Solar gets traction and is starting to stand up. That's what we want. That's what we want. The other thing about Solar is that Solar's eyes are starting to open. Look at how cute that bird is. Somebody said something like, that bird's so ugly, it's cute. It's non-human. It's adorable. It doesn't look like a human, but Solar's adorable. That's a very cute bird. It's not ugly. It's beautiful. Now let's see if we could get Solar to open Solar's eyes. Hi. Oops. Give me that. See how Solar can kind of stand up now? That's what you want. You want the bird to be able to start standing up, right? And getting muscle tone. See? Solar can get it. Good boy, Solar. Good girl. See? Solar's standing. There you go. Good girl. Good boy. See, Solar will lift up now. Look at Solar. Look at how cute that bird is. That is an adorable bird. See? Standing up. Much better. Much better. Very good, Solar. You're kicking ass, buddy. You're kicking ass. Solar gets traction and can lift up. It's good. We're not going to have to tape Solar's legs, but I would also, like I said, I would take Solar to an avian specialist if I had to. That's my baby's mama's baby. We would spare no expense on Solar, but I don't think that we're going to have to. I mean, you know, I noticed progression from yesterday, putting making a regular nest for Solar. I noticed, like, in a few hours, I noticed that Solar was sort of, you know, sitting proper, like with legs like underneath. That's how they're supposed to be. But instead, Solar would sit and the legs were out like that. They can't start raising up. Does that make sense? They grow so fast. They gain so much weight so quick that if they're not using their legs, being able to push up, they're never going to be able to use those legs. So if you have pigeons or chickens or any bird, this can be a problem. So watch them when they're real young. If you start dealing with it, the younger you start dealing with it, like we started dealing with it on the 4th day, we're probably not going to have to, you know, it's sort of like shackling the legs into position. So, you know, for lack of a better term, that's what you do. You shackle them into position, do physical therapy like that way. we're not going to have to do it. Solar's lifting up, and as long as solar's lifting up, solar's going to be fine. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll make sure that everything's progressing, and it is. And if there was a problem, we deal with it, just like yesterday. This is a problem. I don't know what I was thinking. Honestly, I've just thought like t-shirt material will probably be fine. I usually use wool because the pigeons like wool. Like Remy will sit on a wool hat. She likes wool. So I know this about pigeons. They like wool. I've used terry cloth, no problem. Newspaper, no, don't use newspaper. It's too slick and they'll just slide out. Another thing that I think is important